17-year-old Caleb Jackson stood tall in a Memphis courtroom, fist raised, believing he'd saved his aunt's bakery from a racist eviction plot. Marla's shop, a black community heartbeat, was safe, or so he thought. The judge's chuckle sliced the air, his gavel crashing. "Clerical error," he sneered, reinstating the eviction. The all-white gallery smirked, assuming Caleb's youth and skin spelled defeat. A developer's shadow loomed, threatening Beale Street's soul. Caleb's eyes burned, defiance sparking. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe because tomorrow's episode is unmissable. What would Caleb do next? Caleb Jackson slumped against the cracked vinyl seat of a city bus, the Memphis skyline blurring past, his knuckles still white from gripping the courtroom railing 30 minutes ago. His Aunt Marla's bakery, Sweet Rise, was slipping away again, that judge's mocking laugh echoing in his skull like a taunt. The air smelled of diesel and sweat, but all he could picture was Marla's face, lined with worry, her graying braids tucked under a flour-dusted scarf, when he'd promised to save her shop. Sweet Rise wasn't just a business. It was the heart of Beale Street's black community, where kids swapped stories over pecan rolls, where elders lingered with coffee, where jazz notes floated from a battered radio every dawn. Now some developer's shadow wanted it crushed, and that clerical error felt like a fist to Caleb's gut. He wasn't buying it. Not for a second. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from Marla. "Come home safe. We'll figure this out." Caleb's jaw tightened. 17 years old, no money, no lawyer, just a backpack stuffed with schoolbooks and a burning need to fight. Marla had raised him since he was 6, after his mom vanished into addiction, and his dad caught a bullet in a drive-by. She'd given him everything, love, grit, a roof, pouring her soul into Sweet Rise to keep them afloat. That bakery's warm glow, its cinnamon-soaked air, was his anchor. Losing it would gut them both, and Caleb wasn't about to let some smirking judge or mystery developer steal it. He zipped his hoodie, eyes narrowing as the bus lurched toward downtown. City Hall was 3 blocks away. Answers were there, buried in files nobody thought a kid like him would touch. The Memphis City Hall loomed like a concrete fortress, its glass doors catching the late afternoon sun. Caleb's sneakers squeaked on the polished floor as he slipped, inside heart thudding. The lobby buzzed with suits and briefcases, clerks shuffling papers, none sparing him a glance. Good. He wanted to be invisible for this. Marla had taught him to move quiet, think sharp. He headed for the records office, a cramped room tucked behind a flickering vending machine. The clerk, a bored woman with a tight bun, barely looked up from her crossword. "Public records?" Caleb asked, voice steady despite the pulse hammering his throat. She pointed to a computer terminal, muttering about a 10-minute limit. He nodded, sliding into the chair, fingers already flying across the keyboard. Eviction notices, property inspections, Sweet Rise. He typed fast, scanning for Marla's address. The screen spat out a document dated 3 weeks back, stamped with Gay City seal. Structural hazard, it claimed. Immediate condemnation recommended. Caleb's stomach twisted. Marla had fixed the roof last spring, replaced the wiring herself. The place was solid as her will. He scrolled further, eyes catching a name. Vernon Hayes, head of Hayes Development Group. The firm had requested expedited review of Beale Street properties, including Sweet Rise. Caleb's breath hitched. Hayes, the same guy buying up half the city, flashing his veneered smile on billboards, promising renewal. Renewal for who? Not Marla, not the barbershop next door or the soul food joint across the street, both slapped with similar notices. Caleb dug deeper, clicking through inspection logs. The report on Sweet Rise listed a guy named Edgar Tate as the inspector. He froze. Tate. That name rang a bell. Marla had mentioned a city worker poking around last year, some nervous type who'd left when she asked for ID. Caleb opened a new tab, searching Tate's name. Nothing. No license, no record, just a dead-end LinkedIn page from 5 years ago. His gut screamed setup. He cross-checked the report's signature, sloppy, uneven, like someone had traced it off a napkin. Forged. His pulse spiked. This was it. Proof the eviction was a lie, a land grab dressed up as law. Hayes wanted Beale Street's heart for condos or boutiques, and Sweet Rise was in his crosshairs. He hit print, the machine whirring as it spit out the report. Caleb glanced over his shoulder, the clerk still lost in her puzzle. He stuffed the paper in his backpack, mind racing. If he could show this to Marla, maybe get it to a reporter, they could stop the eviction cold. His chest swelled with something, like hope, fragile but fierce. He stood, zipping his bag, ready to bolt, then froze. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate. A shadow fell across the terminal. "You lost, kid?" a voice growled, thick with menace. Caleb turned slow, heart slamming ribs. A cop loomed, badge glinting under fluorescent lights, his meaty hand resting on a holster. Officer Randall Klein, the name tag read. Mid-40s, buzz cut, eyes like chipped ice. Caleb swallowed, forcing his voice calm. "Just checking records, sir. Public access." Klein's lip curled, a sneer that didn't bother hiding its contempt. "Public, huh? You don't look like you belong here." The words landed like a slap, dripping with the assumption Caleb's brown skin meant trouble. He clenched his fists, nails biting palms, but kept his face blank. "Don't give him a reason." Klein stepped closer, breath sour with coffee. "Heard you were in court today, stirring up mess. Vernon Hayes don't like kids poking in his business." Caleb's blood ran cold. Hayes. This wasn't random. The developer's reach stretched to badges, and Caleb's digging had tripped a wire. He backed up, shoulder brushing the wall, the forged report burning a hole in his bag. "I'm leaving," he said, voice low, eyes locked on Klein's. The cop chuckled, a sound like gravel crunching. "Not yet." Before Caleb could move, Klein's hand shot out, slamming him against the wall. Pain flared through his spine, the backpack thudding to the floor. "Trespassing's a crime," Klein hissed, pinning Caleb's arm, his free hand rummaging through the bag. The clerk glanced up, then away, like it was just another Tuesday. Caleb's mind raced. The report. If Klein found it, it was gone. His proof. His shot. He twisted, knee jerking up, catching Klein's thigh. The cop grunted, grip loosening just enough. Caleb ducked, snatching the bag, and sprinted for the exit. Glass doors flew open as he burst outside, humid air hitting his face. Sirens wailed. Somewhere close, too close. He darted across the street, weaving through honking cars, Klein's bellows fading behind him. An alley swallowed him, trash cans rattling as he vaulted one, heart pounding like a war drum. He crouched behind a dumpster, chest heaving, and pulled the report from his bag. Still there, creased but whole. His lips twitched, not a smile but close. He'd gotten it. Proof Sweet Rise was no hazard. Proof Hayes was a liar. But Klein's words gnawed. Hayes knew his name now. This wasn't just about the bakery anymore. Caleb slipped the report back in, zipping the bag tight. The alley stank of rot, but he barely noticed, mind spinning. Marla needed to see this, but getting home wasn't simple. Klein's squad car could be circling, and Hayes's money meant more eyes, more boots. Caleb peeked out, streetlights flickering, on casting Memphis in a hazy glow. Beale Street was 5 miles off, a long walk with cops on his tail. He adjusted his hoodie, pulling the strings tight, and stepped into the dusk, every shadow feeling like a trap. The walk stretched endless, his sneakers pounding cracked sidewalks, ears straining for sirens. Twice he ducked into doorways as patrol. Cars cruised by, their spotlights slicing the dark. His phone stayed off, too easy to track. Marla's face kept him moving, her voice in his head. "You're tougher than they think, Caleb." She'd baked him birthday cakes in that shop, taught him fractions over biscuit dough, held him when nightmares came. Losing Sweet Rise would break her, and Caleb would burn before he let that happen. He hit Beale Street at midnight, neon signs buzzing, music spilling from bars. Sweet Rise sat at the corner, its red awning faded but proud, windows glowing like a beacon. Marla was inside, sweeping, her silhouette steady as ever. Caleb's chest loosened just a fraction. He jogged closer, the report heavy in his hands, ready to show her they had a shot. Then he saw it, a squad car parked across the street, Klein's, buzz cut visible through the windshield, eyes locked on the bakery. Caleb froze, pulse spiking. Klein hadn't followed him. He'd gone straight for Marla. A setup. Hayes wasn't waiting for Caleb to slip. He was tightening the noose now. The report felt like a grenade, proof that could save or doom them. Caleb backed into the shadows. Mind racing. Confront Klein, run to Marla. Every choice screamed risk. He clutched the bag, the forgery's edges sharp against his fingers. Hayes's name burned in his skull, a puppet master pulling strings Caleb couldn't yet cut. He slipped behind the bakery, breath shallow, and tapped the back door soft. Marla opened it, flour on her cheek, eyes widening at his tense face. Caleb. What's wrong? He shoved the report into her hands, words tumbling. It's fake. The inspection. Hayes rigged it. They're stealing Beale Street. Marla's gaze flicked to the paper, then the squad car outside, her jaw tightening. They're watching us, she whispered. Caleb nodded, fear and fury, knotting his gut. He'd found the truth, but Hayes's claws were already sinking deeper. Caleb Jackson's sneakers pounded the Memphis pavement, dawn's pink glow creeping over Beale Street as he clutched the crumpled report from City Hall, its forged signature, a jagged scar in his mind. 3 days since Officer Klein's meaty. Hands slammed him against that wall. 3 days since he'd glimpsed Vernon Hayes's shadow stretching over Sweetrise, Marla's bakery, their home. The squad car still lurked outside her shop each night, a vulture waiting to pounce. Caleb's chest burned, not just from the run, but from the truth in his backpack, proof Hayes was rigging evictions to gut black businesses for profit. Marla's tired eyes haunted him, her voice soft but steel. Don't let them break us, Caleb. He wouldn't. Not today. City Council met at 9, a public session where anyone could speak. Caleb had circled it on Marla's fridge calendar, his pen tearing the paper from pressure. Hayes's name was on the agenda, pitching urban renewal like a snake oil salesman. Renewal, my ass, Caleb thought, dodging a street vendor's cart, the smell of fried dough sharp in the humid air. He'd memorized the report's every line, fake inspector, fake signature, all pointing to Hayes stealing Beale Street's soul. If he could stand before that council, wave the proof, maybe he'd spark a fire, maybe he'd save Sweetrise. Before Klein's next move tightened the noose. The council chamber squatted in a brick building, its arched windows glaring like judgmental eyes. Caleb slipped inside, the air thick with polish and power, his hoodie stark against pressed suits and clicking heels. The gallery buzzed, shop owners, retirees, a few reporters scribbling in notepads, but Caleb felt every stare, some curious, some cold. He was 17, black, no tie, no title, just a kid with a backpack and a grudge. He signed the speaker list, his name scrawled beneath a dozen others, and took a seat, the wooden bench creaking under him. His palms sweated, the report's edges poking through his bag like a blade. The session dragged, council members droning about budgets and potholes, their voices flat as the marble floor. Caleb's knee bounced, his gaze locked on the dais where 6 councillors sat, 5 white, 1 black, all polished like wax figures. Vernon Hayes lounged at a side table, his silver hair slicked back, suit screaming money, a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Caleb's stomach churned. That man's hands were all over the forgery, the eviction, Klein's badge. Then he saw her. Councilwoman. Lydia Crane, mid-50s, blonde bob crisp as her navy blazer, eyes flicking to Hayes like a silent signal. Caleb's gut twisted. Allies. He wasn't just facing a developer, he was walking into a den. The clerk called his name, snapping him upright. Caleb Jackson, public comment. Whispers rippled through the gallery, heads turning. He stood legs steady despite the pulse hammering his temples and strode to the podium, the report clutched like a lifeline. The mic squealed as he adjusted, dared his breath loud in the sudden hush. Crane's eyebrow arched. Hayes leaned forward and the black councillor, Mr. Ellis, frowned, curious. Caleb cleared his throat, voice low but firm. I'm here about Sweetrise Bakery on Beale Street, my Aunt Marla's shop. Your eviction notice says it's unsafe, but that's a lie. Gasps dotted the room, soft but sharp. Crane's lips, pursed. Hayes's smile froze. Caleb pulled the report from his bag, holding it high, its creases catching the overhead light. This inspection's fake. No one checked Marla's shop. The signature's forged. Edgar Tate hasn't worked for the city in years. Vernon Hayes pushed this through and he's got no right. His voice rose, steady fire now. He's not fixing Beale Street, he's stealing it. Marla's shop feeds our people, holds our stories. You can't erase that for condos. The gallery erupted. Not cheers but murmurs, heads nodding, a few claps breaking through. An elder in a fedora pumped his fist. A barber from next door whispered, "Truth!" to his wife. Ellis leaned forward, eyes wide, scribbling notes. Caleb's chest swelled. He was breaking through, cracking their armor. He pointed at Hayes, bold now. "Your money don't own us. I've got proof right here, and I'm not the only one who sees it." Her reporter's pen scratched furiously, catching every word. Crane's gavel cracked, silencing the buzz. Her voice sliced through, cold as a blade. "Mr. Jackson, that's quite a story. But where did you get that document?" Caleb blinked. Caught off guard, the report heavy in his hand. "City Records," he said, chin up. "Public access." Crane's smile was venom, her gaze flicking to Hayes, then back. "Public, Or stolen? That file's confidential, removed without permission. Theft's a serious charge, young man." The room tilted, murmurs turning sour. Theft? Caleb's mouth went dry, his pulse a jackhammer. She was twisting it, flipping his truth into a trap. Hayes stood, smooth as oil, his voice buttery but barbed. "Councilwoman, I'm shocked. A kid breaking laws to smear honest business? That's low, even for Beale Street." The gallery shifted, some nodding with Crane, others frowning, torn. Ellis raised a hand, voice sharp. "Hold on, let's see." The file. But Crane waved him off, her gavel poised. "Order. Mr. Jackson, you've disrupted this session with stolen property. Bailiffs, escort him out." Caleb's heart sank as two burly men in khaki uniforms stepped forward, their boots loud on the marble. The crowd stirred, a woman shouting, "Let him speak!" But Crane's glare silenced her. Caleb backed from the podium, report still in hand, eyes darting to Hayes's smirk. This wasn't a mistake. Crane was Hayes's shield, turning Caleb's stand into a crime. The bailiffs grabbed his arms, cuffs glinting, and yanked him toward the exit. Cameras flashed, reporters shouting questions, but all Caleb heard was Crane's voice amplified, venomous. "This council won't tolerate delinquency. Next speaker." The doors slammed shut behind him. The gallery's roar muffled, his proof now a chain. Outside sunlight stung his eyes, the cuffs biting his wrists as bailiffs shoved him toward a van. Caleb's mind raced. Crane's accusation wasn't just a slap. It was a setup to bury him. Hayes's money had bought her words, and now the city would paint him as a thief, not a fighter. His phone buzzed in his pocket, unreachable. Probably Marla texting, worried sick. Sweet Rise's awning flashed in his mind, its red faded but proud, now dangling by a thread. He'd thought his speech would save it, thought truth would burn bright. Instead, he'd lit a fuse. The van's door slid open. A cop, not Klein, but just as hard-eyed, motioning him in. Caleb's jaw clenched, the report stuffed in his hoodie, miraculously missed. He'd lost the room, but not the fight. Crane's trap had cuffed him, but that file, those forged lines, still held power. As the van rumbled off, he caught a glimpse of Beale Street, jazz notes drifting, defiant. Comment number 1 if you're raging at Crane's dirty move, then hit like and subscribe to see justice claw back. Could Caleb turn those cuffs into a key? Caleb Jackson's wrists ached, the steel cuffs from the council chamber still biting his skin as the van's tires screeched into the Memphis Juvenile Detention Center's lot, gravel crunching like bones under the weight. The sky was bruise-purple, dusk swallowing the city. But Caleb's mind burned with Lydia Crane's venomous smirk, her theft accusation echoing louder than the van's slamming door. He'd waved that forged report like a flag, thinking it'd save Marla's bakery, Sweet Rise, from Vernon Hayes's racist land grab. Instead, he was here, 17 and alone, the report tucked in his hoodie, a ticking bomb nobody had found. Not yet. The center loomed, a squat, concrete maze ringed with razor wire, floodlights casting jagged shadows. 2 guards hauled him out. their grips iron, faces blank as the cinder-block walls. Inside, the air reeked of bleach and despair, a sour tang that clung to Caleb's throat. Intake was a blur, fingerprints smudging ink, a mugshot's flash blinding. Him? His backpack confiscated, but the report missed, still pressed against his ribs. They shoved him into a jumpsuit, orange and stiff, and marched him down a corridor where shouts bounced off peeling paint, each yell a reminder he was caged. His cell was a 6x8 box, the bunk's thin mattress smelling of mildew, a toilet, bolted to the wall like an insult. Caleb sank onto the bed, heart hammering, the report crinkling under his jumpsuit. Crane's trap had worked, calling him a thief, twisting his truth into a crime. Hayes's money fueled it, no doubt, the developer's shadow stretching from Beale Street to this hellhole. Marla's face flashed, her flour-dusted hands, her voice steady despite fear. She didn't know he was locked up yet, didn't know. Sweet Rise dangled by a thread. Caleb's fists clenched, nails digging crescents into his palms. He wasn't done fighting. Morning came, grey light seeping through a slit window, the cell block roaring awake with clanging doors and barked orders. Caleb shuffled to breakfast. The cafeteria a sea of orange jumpsuits, trays clattering, guards eyeing him like prey. He kept his head low, the report hidden, its forged signature his only weapon. At a corner table he caught a stare, a lanky kid, maybe 18, with a faded scar curling his cheek. "New guy," the kid said, voice gravelly but not hostile. "What did they pin on you?" Caleb hesitated, then muttered, "Took a file, called it theft." The kid snorted, sliding him a bruised apple. "Name's Dre. They pin what they want round here." Dre's eyes held a flicker of something, not trust, but recognition. Over watery oatmeal, he leaned close, voice barely above the din. "You learn quick or you break. Guards got favorites and you ain't one." Caleb nodded, sensing a lifeline. Dre knew the system, knew the cracks. By lunch, they were trading stories, Dre's shoplifting charge, Caleb's fight for Sweet Rise. When Caleb whispered about Hayes, Dre's jaw tightened. "Big shot like that? He's got guards on payroll. Watch your back." Caleb's gut churned. Hayes's reach was a noose, tightening even here. That night, Dre slipped him a contraband USB drive, its edges chipped, handed off during a yard break under a guard's blind spot. "Library computer's slow, but it works," Dre said, nodding, toward a corner of the rec room. Caleb's pulse quickened. The report was paper, vulnerable. This drive could be his backup. He waited till lights out, the cell block's hum masking his steps to the library, a dim closet with one ancient PC. He plugged in the USB, hands trembling, and opened the file from his hoodie, scanning it to save. Then he dug deeper, searching. Hayes's name online, heart pounding like a fist against his ribs. The screen flickered, spitting out a goldmine, emails from a leaked city server, buried in a forum post. Hayes to Crane, dates matching the eviction notice. "Clear Beale Street by Q3," one read. "Condemn the bakery first." Another mentioned Tate's signature. "Handle it." Caleb's breath caught, sharp and cold. This wasn't just a fake inspection. It was a blueprint for stealing Blackland. Hayes orchestrating it all, Crane his puppet. He copied the emails to the USB, fingers flying, mind racing with plans. Get this to Marla, a reporter, anyone who'd listen. His chest swelled. Hope. Clawing through the dark. He was cracking Hayes's armor. Footsteps snapped him back, boots heavy, too close. Caleb yanked the USB, shoving it into his sock, the report back under his jumpsuit. The library door creaked, a guard's silhouette filling it, flashlight beam slicing the gloom. "Jackson!" the guard snarled, voice thick with malice. Officer Pollard, his badge glinted, eyes narrow slits of hate. "Late night reading, boy." The slur landed like a whip, raw and deliberate, his lip curling as if Caleb's skin was a crime. Caleb stood, hands raised, voice steady despite the fear spiking his veins. "Just studying, sir." Pollard lunged, faster than Caleb expected, slamming him against the computer desk. Pain bloomed in his ribs, the monitor wobbling. Studying what? How to cause trouble? Pollard's breath was hot, reeking of chewing tobacco, his fist gripping Caleb's collar. The report crinkled, but Pollard's eyes locked on the USB, now loose on the floor. Caleb's heart stopped. Before he could move, Pollard scooped it up, grinning like a wolf. "This what you hiding?" He smashed it under his boot, plastic splintering, the emails gone in a crunch. Caleb lunged, instinct overriding sense, and Pollard's fist cracked his jaw, sending him sprawling. Blood pooled in Caleb's mouth, coppery and warm as Pollard loomed. "You started a fight, kid. Bad move." The lie was smooth, practiced, his radio crackling as he called backup. Caleb's vision swam, but he saw it. Pollard slipping a folded bill into his pocket, Hayes' cash no doubt. This wasn't random. The developer had eyes here, and Caleb's digging had painted a target. Guards stormed in, batons drawn, dragging him to his feet. The report stayed hidden, a small mercy. But the USB's loss burned like a brand. Pollard's sneer followed him down the hall, words dripping venom. Hayes don't like loose ends. They didn't take him back to his cell. Solitary was worse, a steel box, no window, just a slot for a tray. The door slammed, locking Caleb in darkness, the air stale and heavy, like breathing dirt. His jaw throbbed, bruises blooming where Pollard's fist had landed. He sank to the cold floor, jumpsuit scratching his skin, the report pressed against his chest like a shield. The emails were gone, but he'd read them, memorized every damning word. Hayes' orders, Crane's nods, Beale Street's death sentence. His mind clung to them, replaying each line, refusing to let Pollard's boot erase it all. Solitary stretched, hours bleeding into days, the silence a weight crushing his lungs. Meals came irregular, mouldy bread, grey slop. Pollard's doing, no question. Caleb's body ached, but his head stayed sharp, piecing together the fight. Pollard had known about the USB, known what Caleb was hunting. Hayes' leash reached deep, maybe deeper than the city. Dre's warning rang, guards on payroll. Caleb's hope flickered, fragile as a match in a storm. Marla was out there, Sweet Rise still standing, but for how long? He had to get out. Had to warn her. A faint tap broke the quiet, knuckles on steel. Caleb tensed, expecting Pollard's sneer, but it was Dre, risking a guard's wrath, whispering through the slot. "Heard you got hit. You alive?" Caleb crawled closer, voice hoarse. "Barely. Pollard smashed my proof." Dre's sigh was heavy. "Hayes' lawyer was here yesterday, sniffing around. Fat guy, gold watch, asking about you." Caleb's blood chilled. A lawyer. Hayes wasn't just covering tracks, he was tying knots, making sure Caleb stayed buried. Dre's voice dropped lower. "Keep your head up, man. You're not invisible." The slot clanked shut. Dre gone before guards. Could catch him. Caleb leaned against the wall, its chill seeping into his bones. The lawyer's shadow looming large. Hayes' empire wasn't just Beale Street. It was judges, cops, now cells. The report in his jumpsuit felt heavier, a spark that could still burn. But Solitary's walls mocked him. He closed his eyes, picturing Marla's bakery, its warm counters, her laugh over jazz. Pollard's fist hadn't broken him. Not yet. He whispered the email's words, etching them deeper, each syllable a vow to fight back. Days later, they dragged him out, eyes squinting against the light, bruises fading but not gone. The warden, a gaunt man with a clipboard, muttered about overcrowding and cut him loose to Gen Pop, no explanation. Caleb knew better. Hayes' lawyer pulling strings, maybe thinking a beatdown was enough to scare him silent. They were wrong. Back in his cell, Dre was waiting, tossing him a smuggled pencil stub. "Write what you remember," he said, low and urgent. Caleb nodded, the report still hidden, his mind a vault of Hayes' sins. He wasn't free, but he wasn't broken either. Caleb Jackson's fingers trembled, tracing the memorized words of Vernon Hayes' damning emails on a scrap of paper in his Memphis juvenile detention cell. The pencil stub Dre gave him worn to a nub. 7 days in solitary had left bruises, on his skin and fire in his gut, Officer Pollard's racist sneer still burning in his memory. The forged report, tucked inside his orange jumpsuit, was all he had left. Proof Hayes was stealing Beale Street's Black Heart, starting with Marla's bakery, Sweet Rise. Caleb's jaw clenched, picturing Marla's warm counters, her jazz, humming through flower-dusted air. He'd get that truth to her, no matter the cost. Released back to general population on a warden's whim, Caleb felt Hayes's shadow, his lawyer's gold watch flashing in Dre's warning, lurking behind every guard's glance. The cell block roared, doors clanging, voices sharp with desperation. But Caleb kept his eyes low, the reporter's secret pressed against his ribs. Dre caught him at breakfast, sliding a tray of grey eggs across the scratched table. "You still fighting, man?" he whispered, scar twitching on his cheek. Caleb nodded, voice barely audible. "Gotta get this to Marla. She'll rally folks." Dre's gaze hardened, approving. "Then move fast." Pollard's sniffing. Caleb's plan was reckless, born in Solitary's dark. Stage a distraction. Slip the email details to Marla, let her spread the word. The detention center's kitchen was his shot, a chaotic hub where trays crashed and guards slacked off. He'd fake a fight, draw eyes, and pass a note through a delivery driver who'd once nodded at him in the yard. Marla was 5 miles away, but her spirit felt closer, her voice in his head. "We're tougher than their lies, Caleb." He scribbled the email's core, Hayes's orders to Crane, the fake Tate signature, onto a torn napkin, folding it tight, his pulse a drumbeat. Lunch. Hit. The cafeteria packed, air thick with sweat and burnt toast. Caleb locked eyes with Dre across the room. A silent signal. Dre stood, shouting at a kid over a stolen roll, his tray slamming the floor. Heads turned, guards barking, chaos blooming like a spark in dry grass. Caleb moved, slipping to the kitchen's edge where a driver, a wiry man named Tito, loaded. "Crates." "For Marla, sweet rise," Caleb hissed, pressing the napkin into Tito's palm. The man's eyes widened, but he nodded, pocketing it as shouts echoed. Caleb ducked back, heart racing, blending into the crowd as guards stormed in. The distraction worked. Dre took a shove, grinning, no real harm. Caleb exhaled, hope flickering. If Tito reached Marla, she'd rally Beale Street's shopkeepers. Elders, kids who'd grown up on her biscuits. Hayes's emails would hit like a brick, exposing his land grab. Caleb pictured her storming the streets, fist raised, neighbors chanting. He clung to that image through the day, dodging pollards. Patrols, the guard's eyes glinting with hate. By lights out, he lay on his bunk, the report's crinkle under his jumpsuit a lifeline, whispering to himself, "We're coming for you, Hayes." Word spread fast outside. Marla got the napkin, her hands shaking as she read Caleb's scrawl. Under Sweet Rise's dim lights. She didn't cry, didn't pause, just called every neighbor she knew. By noon, Beale Street buzzed, folks gathering outside the bakery, signs scrawled with "Save Our Soul" and "Hayes Lies." Marla stood on a crate, voice steady, reading Caleb's words. Hayes's emails, the forged inspection, the theft of their homes. The crowd swelled, barbers, cooks, teens, their cheers drowning out traffic. A local blogger snapped photos, posting them online, hashtags sparking, "Beale fights back." Marla's heart pounded, pride for Caleb mixing with fear. He was locked up, targeted, but he'd lit this fire. Caleb heard whispers of it by dinner, a new kid muttering about Beale Street going wild. His chest swelled, a grin tugging. His lips for the first time in weeks. Marla was moving. The truth was out. He imagined Hayes squirming, his slick smile cracking as the rally grew. In the yard, Dre clapped his shoulder, low and quick. "Your answer, warrior man, you did that." Caleb nodded, hope no longer a flicker but a flame. He'd outsmarted Pollard, outrun Crane's cuffs. Maybe, just maybe, Sweet Rise was safe. Then the blow landed, sharp and cruel, like a blade. Through bone. Evening rec rolled in, the rec room's TV blaring local news, its grainy feed freezing Caleb's blood. Sweet Rise's red awning filled the screen, but not with Marla's rally. Yellow tape cordoned it off, a padlock glinting on the door. A health inspector, a gaunt woman with a clipboard, stood smug, her voice nasal through the speaker. Multiple violations, rodents, mold, unsafe wiring. Immediate closure ordered. The camera panned to Marla, face crumpled, neighbors silent, their signs drooping. Caleb's knees buckled, Dre catching him before he hit the floor. Violations. Sweet Rise was spotless, Marla's pride. Caleb knew it. Everyone did. No roaches, no mold, just lies. The reporter's words cut deeper. Hayes Development Group expressed concern for public safety, funding the inspection. Hayes. That snake hadn't just watched the rally. He'd struck back, his money buying a fake report worse than the first. Caleb's vision blurred, rage and grief colliding. Marla's bakery wasn't just locked. It was dead, her livelihood. Gutted, her spirit crushed. The crowd on TV dispersed, heads low, Beale Street's pulse fading. Caleb staggered to his bunk, the report useless now, its truth drowned by Hayes's cash. Pollard passed his cell, chuckling, his boot tapping like a taunt. Heard your aunt's shop's done, boy, should have stayed quiet. The slur in his tone wasn't veiled, his grin a knife twisting Caleb's gut. Hayes hadn't just padlocked Sweet Rise, he'd sent a message, cross me, and I burn what you love. Caleb's hands shook, tearing the napkin's edges, the emails. He'd memorized now a faint echo. Marla was out there alone, her fight snuffed like a candle. He sat through the night, back against the cold wall, replaying the news. The inspector's smirk, Marla's tears, Hayes's invisible hand. Then a memory hit. Marla, months back, joking about hiding recipes in the bakery's floorboards, where no thief looks. Caleb's breath caught. What if she'd kept something else? Receipts, notes, anything tying Hayes to this? His mind raced, grasping for a thread. The cell's shadows pressed in, but a spark held. Marla wasn't broken. Not yet. He had to reach her. Had to know. Morning brought a new rumor. Whispered. In the cafeteria line. A delivery crate missed in the chaos had been seized by cops outside Sweet Rise. Inside, someone said, was a ledger. Pages of numbers, names, maybe Hayes's. Caleb's pulse spiked, hope clawing back. If Marla had hidden proof, if it named Hayes's bribes, it could flip this. But the cops had it, locked away, and Caleb was stuck here, caged. Dre leaned close, voice urgent. Whatever's out there, they're scared of it. Keep pushing. Caleb nodded, the report still hidden. His mind locked on that ledger, a ghost he couldn't touch. The detention center's walls felt tighter, Pollard's patrols closer, Hayes's shadow darker. Caleb clutched the report, its creases worn. Gant pictured Marla standing tall even now. He'd gotten her the truth once, he'd do it again, but how? The question gnawed, his bruises throbbing. The bakery's padlock a chain on his heart. Comment number 1 if you're boiling at Hayes's dirty trick. Then hit like and subscribe to see Caleb fight back. Drop a 1 if you think Marla's spirit can't be locked away, or if you've ever faced a lie that stole your home. Would Caleb find a way to reach that ledger before Hayes buried it forever? Caleb Jackson's boots hit the Memphis pavement, free air sharp in his lungs after weeks in juvenile detention. His orange jumpsuit swapped for a worn hoodie that still smelled of Sweet Rise's flour. A judge's pen had scratched technicality on his release papers, but Caleb knew better. Vernon Hayes's lawyer had flexed muscle thinking a caged kid was no threat. They were dead wrong. The forged report, tucked in his waistband, burned like a coal, its fake signature proof Hayes was gutting Beale Street's black soul. Marla's bakery, padlocked by a racist inspector's lie, haunted him, her crumpled face on that news feed, a knife in his chest. He was out, but the fight was just starting. Beale Street hummed, neon signs flickering, but the vibe was off. Shops, boarded, faces tight. Caleb jogged to Sweet Rise, its red awning sagging, a yellow padlock glinting like a taunt. Marla was inside, scrubbing counters that'd never see dough again, her braids loose, eyes hollow. She hugged him fierce, breath catching. "You're back," she whispered, voice cracked but warm. Caleb pulled the report, words tumbling. "Hayes did this, Marla. Fake violations, fake everything. I got proof." Her gaze hardened, nodding, slow. Then we hit back together. The rumor of a ledger, names, bribes, Hayes's dirty deals, had reached Marla too, snatched by cops before she could touch it. Caleb's pulse raced. That ledger was a grenade, but locked in a precinct. Vault. He needed eyes on it, needed Beale Street loud. Marla's rally had sparked hope, but Hayes's padlock snuffed it. Caleb had another plan, a march, bigger, bolder, live stream to the world. He'd expose Hayes's emails, the forgery, every lie, and make Memphis listen. Marla's lip twitched, almost a smile. "You're trouble, boy. Good kind." They got to work. Caleb hit the streets, knocking on doors, his voice raw but steady. Barbers, cooks, kids who'd licked icing off Sweet Rise's plates. They all listened. By dusk, flyers were up, scrawled with Beale lives and Stop Hayes. Caleb borrowed a friend's phone, its cracked screen glowing as he set up a live stream. Jan Bealburn's trending before midnight. Marla called elders, her church choir spreading word like wildfire. Dre, out on probation, showed up, tossing Caleb a megaphone. "Make it loud, man," he grinned, scar glinting. Caleb nodded, fear and fury knotting his gut. Hayes would see. This? Good. The march kicked off at noon, Beale Street's asphalt pulsing under thousands of feet, families, teens, shopkeepers, their signs bobbing like waves. Caleb led, megaphone heavy, his hoodie soaked with sweat under a blazing sun. Marla walked beside him, fist raised, her voice joining the chant, "No more lies! Save our homes!" Drums beat, horns blared, a jazz pulse defying Hayes's grip. Caleb hit the livestream button, the phone trembling in his hand, words pouring. "Vernon Hayes faked reports to steal Sweet Rise, to steal Beale. I've got proof, forged signatures, emails, all of it. Memphis, don't let him win." The feed exploded, views spiking, 10,000, 20, 50. Comments flooded, "Fight. Back. Hayes' scum." Caleb's chest swelled, the crowd's roar a living thing, drowning out distant sirens. A girl in braids handed him water, her grin wide. "You're waking us up," she said. He nodded, throat tight, picturing Marla's bakery alive again, counters warm, jazz humming. Reporters trailed, cameras rolling, their lenses catching every raised fist. A block from City Hall, the march peaked, thousands packing the street. Voices shaking windows. Caleb climbed a bench, megaphone crackling. "This is our street, our soul. Hayes can't take it." The crowd erupted, a sea of hands waving, signs thrusting skyward. Caleb's heart pounded, hope blazing. He'd done it, turned his cell block whispers into a movement. The live stream hit 100,000 views, trending nationwide. Hayes's office, a glass tower looming nearby, felt the quake. Caleb pictured him watching, his slick smile cracking. Marla gripped his shoulder, pride in her eyes. For a moment it felt like victory, like Beale Street's pulse could outlast any padlock. Then the air shifted, sharp and wrong. A gasoline, stink cutting through the crowd's sweat. Shouts broke the chant, not cheers but screams. Caleb spun, megaphone dropping, as a pack of men in black hoods surged from an alley, bats swinging, eyes wild with hate. Thugs, not cops, their slurs slicing the air, racial venom, raw and vicious, aimed at every black face. The crowd scattered. Kids tripping, signs snapping. Caleb grabbed Marla, pulling her behind a car, his pulse a jackhammer. The thugs didn't swing random. They targeted the march's heart, smashing phones, kicking elders. A bat cracked a teen's arm, blood spraying. Asphalt. Caleb's stomach lurched, dread choking him. Hayes. A van roared up, Marla's delivery van, parked for the march. Flames licked its side, a Molotov cocktail's work. The blaze swallowing her logo, Sweet Rise's curling script. Caleb froze, smoke stinging his eyes, Marla's gasp a blade in his ribs. The crowd screamed, fleeing as fire leaped, glass shattering. The thugs melted back, their job done, but cops swarmed now, riot gear gleaming, ignoring the hooded men. An officer, Klein, that buzz-cut bastard from City Hall, locked eyes with Caleb, grinning like a shark. "Arson's a felony, Jackson," he bellowed, baton raised, charging through the chaos. Caleb's mind screamed, arson? The van was Marla's, their march's anchor. He hadn't touched it, but Klein's boots pounded closer, cuffs glinting. The livestream phone, dropped in the panic, caught flames licking the van, broadcasting Caleb's stunned face to thousands. Marla yanked him down, voice fierce. "Run, Caleb." He hesitated, smoke choking him, the crowd's wails deafening. Klein's baton swung, grazing his shoulder, pain flaring. Caleb bolted, weaving through bodies, Marla's shout fading. Alley shadows swallowed him, but sirens wailed, dogs barking somewhere close. He crouched behind a dumpster, lungs burning, the report still tucked tight, its edges worn but sharp. Klein's words sank in. Arson pinned on him. Hayes hadn't just sent thugs. He'd staged a trap, burning Marla's van to frame Caleb, to kill the march's fire. The livestream, his weapon, now twisted against him, painting him a rioter. Not a fighter. Caleb's fists clenched, nails biting skin. Thousands had seen the truth, but Hayes's money spun lies faster. Marla was out there, defenseless, her van ash, her bakery dead. He'd sparked a movement, only to watch it choke on flames. A faint buzz cut through his panic, his phone, somehow still in his pocket, vibrating with a text. Unknown number. Check plates on those hoods. H. Caleb's breath hitched. H? A protester, maybe, catching the thug's getaway van. He squinted, mind racing, recalling a black SUV peeling out, its plates blurred but real. If it tied to Hayes, he had a shot. But the phone's signal blinked, cops likely tracking. He powered it off, heart pounding, the report his only anchor. Klein's boots echoed nearby, a radio crackling orders. Find Jackson, now! Caleb slipped deeper into the alley, trash crunching underfoot. The city's pulse faint against the siren's scream. Beale Street's neon glowed distant, its jazz silenced, but Marla's face held him steady, her grit, her love. He'd lit a fire today, and Hayes had answered with one of his own. The Ledger rumor gnawed, proof Hayes feared, locked away. Caleb's shoulder throbbed, his hoodie torn, but his eyes burned, unbowed. He'd lost the van, maybe the march, but not the eye. Or not yet. Caleb Jackson's wrists burned under the cuffs, the Memphis courthouse's polished floors, reflecting his scuffed sneakers as deputies shoved him toward a courtroom, the arson charge from Vernon Hayes's trap weighing like a stone. Beale Streets. Ashes clung to his memory. Marla's van blazing, Klein's baton grazing his shoulder, the livestream twisting his march into a rioter's crime. Released from juvenile detention on a flimsy bond, Caleb was back in chains, but the forged report, hidden in his sock, pulsed like a heartbeat, proof Hayes was gutting Sweet Rise and Black Memphis for profit. Marla's face, grief-stricken but fierce, drove him. He'd face a judge today, no lawyer, just truth. The courtroom buzzed, its oak pews packed with reporters, shopkeepers and gawkers, their whispers sharp as Caleb shuffled to the defense table. His hoodie was gone, swapped for a borrowed blazer, sleeves pinching his arms, tie knotted crooked by Marla's trembling hands that morning. She sat in the front row, braids tight, eyes locked on him, a silent vow. We're still here. Caleb nodded, chest tight, the report's crinkle his anchor. He'd found a crack in Hayes's lies, a protester's text about the thugs' plates, linked to a hacked video online, tracing back to Hayes's firm. Today, he'd wield it. Judge Harlan Voss took the bench, his jowls sagging under wire rim. Glasses, a cousin to Hayes by blood and greed, his gavel a hammer waiting to crush. Voss's eyes raked Caleb, a sneer curling his lip, the same racist contempt that had mocked Caleb's first stand. No counsel, boy, he drawled, voice thick, with Memphis drawl, assuming Caleb's youth and skin meant defeat. The prosecutor, a wiry woman named Gail Holt, smirked, her briefcase stuffed with Hayes's doctored evidence, gas cans, fake witnesses, all pinning the van's fire on Caleb. He stood, voice steady despite the sweat beading his neck. Representing. Myself, Your Honor. The gallery stirred, a reporter's pen scratching, Marla's breath catching. Voss snorted, leaning back, his chair creaking like a warning. Proceed then, waste my time. Caleb's jaw clenched, but he moved fast, pulling a crumpled printout from his pocket. Not the report, but a screenshot of the hacked video, the thug's SUV plates clear as day. He'd found it on a library computer before his arrest, a grainy clip posted by an anonymous user, H maybe, showing the hooded men fleeing the march. Permission to present evidence, Caleb said, holding it up, his pulse a jackhammer. Voss's brow furrowed, Holt's smirk faltering. Caleb stepped to a projector, shaky hands loading the clip. The screen flickered, showing the SUV peeling, out plates glinting, registered to Hayes Development Group, a fact he'd cross-checked via public records. "This vehicle," Caleb said, voice rising, "carried the men who burned my aunt's van. Not me. Vernon Hayes hired them, and this proves it." The gallery gasped, heads craning, a barber muttering, "That's right." Marla's fist clenched, pride flashing. Caleb pushed on, pointing to the timestamp. "The fire started at 8:16 p.m. I was blocks away, running from police." Holt shot up, voice sharp. "Objection. Unverified source, Your Honor. Could be doctored." Voss nodded, but his eyes lingered on the screen, doubt flickering. Caleb didn't flinch. "It's real, and I can show more." He pulled a second printout. Server logs from the video's upload traced to a coffee shop near Hayes' office, not some kid's basement. "Hayes' people tried to scrub this, but they missed it. They're covering a crime, not solving." 1. The room buzzed, reporters typing furiously, a teen in the back whispering, "He's got 'em." Caleb's heart pounded, hope surging. He was cracking Voss's wall, turning Hayes' frame up into a spotlight. He glanced at Marla, her nod fueling him. "The arson's a lie to silence Beale Street," he said, voice bold now. "Hayes wants our shops, our homes gone. I'm no arsonist, I'm fighting for my family." The gallery roared, applause breaking, a woman shouting, "Tell it, Caleb!" Voss's gavel slammed, face reddening, but Caleb stood tall, the video's a troll, truth burning brighter than Hayes' cash. Holt scrambled, tossing papers, her voice shrill. "This is theatre, Your Honor. No chain of custody, no credibility." But Voss wavered, his sneer softening, eyes darting to the clip, looping silently. "Thugs." Plates Hayes' logo faint on a door. Caleb seized the pause, voice calm but fierce. "Check the plates yourself, Your Honor. Run the number. It's public record, not a trick." A hush fell. All eyes on Voss, his fingers tapping, caught between bias and proof. Marla leaned forward. Breath held, the room electric with maybe. Voss exhaled, glasses glinting. "I'll allow a recess to verify this evidence." His tone dripped doubt, but Caleb's chest swelled. He'd forced a crack, maybe enough for a mistrial. The gavel fell, deputies clearing the room, reporters rushing out to file stories. Marla caught Caleb's eye, mouthing, "Proud." He nodded, adrenaline buzzing, the report still hidden. Its forgery, a backup he hadn't needed yet. As he sat waiting, a clerk, a young woman with tight curls, slipped him a folded photo, her glance nervous. "Found this in records," she whispered, gone before he could blink. Caleb unfolded it, breath catching, a grainy shot of Hayes shaking hands with Voss outside a country club, their smiles conspiratorial, dated a month before the eviction notice. His pulse spiked, the pieces locking. Voss wasn't just biased, he was bought, Hayes' blood tie a leash. Caleb tucked the photo in his blazer, mind racing. A mistrial wasn't enough. He needed to bury them both. The clerk's gift was dynamite, but dangerous. Voss's courtroom was a snake pit and Caleb was still prey. The recess ended, the gallery refilling, tension thick as fog. Voss returned, face unreadable, gavel poised. "The court's reviewed the vehicle records," he said, voice flat. "The plates match a private firm, not the defendant's possession. Prosecution's evidence lacks clarity." Holt's jaw dropped, reporters gasping. Caleb's hope flared. Freedom, maybe justice. Voss continued, eyes narrowing. "I declare a mistrial. Charges dismissed, pending further investigation." The room erupted, cheers drowning Holt's sputter, Marla's hands clasping tight. Caleb exhaled, legs shaky, victory tasting real for a second. Then Voss leaned forward, his smirk returning, colder, sharper, a predator's glint. "Mr. Jackson, you're free, for now, but don't get comfortable." The words landed like ice, the gallery quieting. Caleb froze, catching a flicker in Voss's gaze, malice personal tied to that photo. Deputies uncuffed him, but Voss's voice lingered, a warning unspoken. As Caleb stepped from the table, a bailiff handed him his phone buzzing with text. Unknown numbers, all threats. "You're done, kid." "Leave Beale or burn." Marla's number flashed too, her message frantic. "They know where we live." Caleb's blood chilled, the photo heavy in his pocket. Voss hadn't just lost, he'd struck back, leaking Caleb's address to a hate group, Hayes' silent army. The judge's smirk widened as Caleb passed, a silent promise of pain. Marla met him at the door, face pale, pulling him close. "They're coming for us," she whispered, voice trembling but firm. Caleb nodded, the report and photo his only weapons, Hayes's cousin now a hunter. He'd won the courtroom, but the war had just gotten uglier. Comment number 1, if you're cheering Caleb's courtroom fire, then hit like and subscribe to see him dodge the next blow. Drop a 1 if you think Voss's dirty leak proves the system's rotten, or if you've ever stood up knowing the fight's not over. Can Caleb outrun a judge's vengeance before it catches him in the dark? Caleb Jackson's breath fogged in the Memphis night, his sneakers silent on the damp pavement as he slipped through an alley, the photo of Vernon Hayes shaking hands with Judge Voss burning a hole in his borrowed blazer's pocket. Hours ago he'd walked free from a courtroom, a mistrial won by exposing Hayes's arson frame-up, but Voss's smirk and those buzzing death threats, leave Beale or burn, had chased him into the dark. The forged report, still tucked, against his ribs tied Hayes to Sweet Rise's eviction, but the photo was dynamite, proof of a blood-deep conspiracy. Marla's frantic text echoed, "They know where we live." Caleb's pulse hammered. He was prey now, hunted by a hate group Voss had unleashed. Beale Street's neon flickered distant, its jazz muted, the city's pulse drowned by his own heartbeat. Marla was at a neighbor's, safe for now, her bakery, padlocked her Vanash. Caleb couldn't go to her, couldn't risk leading Voss's dogs to her door. The threats weren't empty. His phone had lit up with photos of their apartment, a brick through their window, slurs scrawled in red paint. Hayes's empire wasn't just developers and cops. It was a militia, armed and rabid, itching to silence a black kid who dared to speak. Caleb ducked behind a shuttered bodega, the air thick with rot and oil, his mind racing for a plan. He needed to decode the photo, find its edges, dates, places, anything tying Hayes's land grab to Voss's gavel. A library was too hot. Cops, circling like vultures. He remembered a spot, a dingy internet cafe off Poplar Avenue, open late, cash only, no cameras. Marla had taken him there once, splitting a milkshake when money was tight. It was a mile off, a risk with eyes everywhere, but Caleb had no choice. The report alone wasn't enough. The photo could crack Hayes's machine wide open. He pulled, his hoodie tight, cap low, and moved, each step a gamble. The streets were a maze, streetlights buzzing, shadows twitching with menace. Twice he froze, hearing boots, militia maybe, or Klein's squad car prowling. His shoulder throbbed from the march's baton hit, but fear kept him sharp. The cafe's sign glowed ahead, a flickering beacon, its windows steamed from cheap coffee. Caleb slipped inside, the bell jangling, a bored clerk barely glancing up. He took a corner booth, the monitor's hum steadying his nerves, and unfolded the photo, its creases worn but clear. Hayes's grin, Voss's nod, a country, club's ivy wall behind them. He scanned it to the computer, zooming in, heart pounding. A date stamp in the corner, 6 weeks before the eviction notice, matched Hayes's emails from detention, the ones Pollard's boot had crushed. Caleb's fingers flew, searching public records, cross-referencing club events. A hit, Hayes, had hosted a planning summit there. City brass invited, Voss on the guest list. Caleb dug deeper, finding a leaked memo online. Hayes's firm pitching a citywide redevelopment, Beale Street first, then black neighborhoods north and south, all flagged as blight. The photo wasn't just a handshake. It was a deal, a blueprint to erase Black Memphis for profit. Caleb's chest tightened, rage and awe colliding. This was bigger than Sweet Rise. Hayes wasn't just a developer, he was a kingpin, buying judges, cops, land, lives. The memo named dozens of properties, elderly owners targeted, inspections faked like Marla's. Caleb saved it to a USB, hands trembling, picturing Marla's face if he could show her this. He'd blow it wide open, a blog, a reporter, anyone who'd listen. His hope flared, fragile but fierce, until a shadow fell across the screen, heavy boots scuffing the linoleum. He spun, pulse spiking, but it wasn't the clerk. 3 men, leather jackets, buzz cuts, swastika tattoos peeking from cuffs, blocked the exit. Militia. Their eyes locked on him, grins twisted, one cracking knuckles like a promise. "Jackson," the leader growled, voice low, slurring Caleb's. Name with venom that screamed race. "Thought you'd hide." Caleb's mouth went dry, the USB hot in his palm, the photo exposed on the desk. He stood slow, chair scraping, mind racing, fight or run, no good options. The clerk bolted to the back, leaving Caleb alone, the cafe's hum mocking his panic. He backed toward a side door, hands raised, voice steady despite the fear clawing. His gut. "I'm leaving, no trouble." The leader laughed, a bark of hate, stepping closer. "Trouble's what you are, boy." The slur hit like a fist, raw and deliberate, their boots closing in. Caleb's eyes darted. An alley exit. 10 feet, maybe less. He lunged, shoulder slamming the door, but a hand grabbed his hood, yanking him back. Asphalt biting his knees as he fell. Fists rained down, boots cracking ribs, pain exploding white-hot. Caleb curled tight, shielding the USB, the report, his hope. Slurs poured, vile, personal, targeting his skin, his fight, his existence. Blood slicked his lip, the world blurring, but he heard tires screech, a van's door sliding. The militia dragged him to an alley's mouth, their laughter echoing, a blade glinting in one's hand. Caleb's mind screamed, Marla, the bakery, the truth, but a shout cut through, not his, sharp and close. "Back off!" A figure, Dre, scar flashing, swung a pipe, cracking a thug's arm. The militia scattered, cursing, their van peeling out as Dre pulled Caleb up, his breath ragged. "Move, man!" Caleb stumbled, pain searing, clutching the USB, the photo crumpled but safe. They ran, alleys swallowing them, sirens wailing distant. Dre's safe spot was a boarded warehouse, its air stale with dust. Caleb sank against a crate, ribs screaming, blood drying on his chin. Dre tossed him a rag, voice low. "They knew you were there, Voss's leak." Caleb nodded, dread pooling. The judge's smirk had sent these dogs, Hayes's orders on their lips. He plugged the USB into an old laptop Dre kept hidden, the memo loading slow, its words a gut punch. Hayes's plan to cleanse Memphis, black homes swapped for glass, towers. Caleb's hands shook, saving it again, his bruised face reflected in the screen. He'd found the heart of Hayes's ring, but the militia's boots were too close, their knives too sharp. Marla was out there vulnerable, and Caleb's fight had painted a bigger target. He whispered her name, a vow to keep going, when Dre's phone buzzed. A call from a Beale Street friend, voice panicked. "Caleb, it's Marla," the friend said, words tumbling. "Cops grabbed her, tax fraud, some BS about unreported income. She's in lockup, shops boarded tight." Caleb's heart stopped, the world tilting. Fraud? Marla, who saved every receipt, who gave half her flour to neighbors, framed for a crime that didn't exist. Hayes's hand, no question, striking where it hurt most. The bakery was gone, now Marla too, her spirit caged because Caleb had dared to dig. His fists clenched, the USB digging into his palm, pain swallowed by fury. Dre cursed, pacing, but Caleb sat frozen, the warehouse's chill sinking deep. Marla's laugh, her warm hands, flashed, locked away, alone. Hayes hadn't just sent thugs, he'd torn Caleb's anchor, betting it'd break him. The photo, the memo felt heavy, not enough to free her, not yet. Dre crouched, voice urgent. "She's tough, man. You gotta move, not fold." Caleb nodded, eyes burning, the report still hidden, a spark uncrushed. He'd run tonight, but tomorrow he'd hunt. A faint noise broke his haze. A homeless man outside tapping the warehouse door, his voice hoarse. "Kid with a hoodie, you Jackson?" Caleb tensed, Dre's hand on the pipe, but the man slid a burner phone through a crack, muttering, "From Beale, check it." Caleb grabbed it, screen cracked but alive, a text loaded. "Hayes's lawyer. Her keeps us safe. Proof inside. 3rd floor riverfront." Caleb's breath caught. A new thread, dangerous but real. Marla was caged, the militia circling, and Hayes's empire loomed larger than ever. Caleb Jackson's breath caught in the Memphis night, the burner phone's cracked screen glowing in his bruised hands as he crouched in Dre's dusty warehouse, the text about Vernon Hayes's lawyer's safe searing his mind. Marla's arrest. For fake tax fraud, Hayes's latest knife had gutted him, her bakery, Sweet Rise, already boarded up, her spirit caged. The forged report, tucked inside his hoodie, tied Hayes to Beale Street's theft, and the country club photo linked him to Judge Voss. But this tip, a safe on the third floor of a riverfront office, promised the kill shot. Proof of Hayes's bribes. Caleb's ribs ached from the malicious boots, but his eyes burned fierce. He'd crack that safe or die trying. Dre paced, pipe in hand, the warehouse's boarded windows rattling in the wind. "You sure, man? That's Hayes's turf. Guards' cameras, worse." Caleb nodded, gripping the phone, its text from an unknown. Beale ally his only lead. Marla's face flashed, her steady hands kneading dough, now cuffed in a cell. Hayes had burned her van, locked her shop, now her freedom, betting Caleb would break. He wouldn't. The safe held truth. Names, payoffs, enough to free her, to bury Hayes's racist empire. Caleb stuffed the report deeper, zipping his hoodie. "I'm going tonight." The riverfront district gleamed, glass towers mocking Beale Street's grit, Hayes's office a steel monolith among them. Caleb moved at midnight, cap low, the city's hum masking his steps. The militia's slurs still echoed, their swastikas a brand on his memory, but fear fueled him now, not froze him. He'd scouted the building online, a janitor's blog mentioning back entrances, loose vents. The burner phone was dead, ditched to dodge trackers, but its tip guided him, a third-floor safe, lawyer's office, Hayes's secrets locked tight. Caleb's pulse thrummed, each shadow a threat. Klein's squad car never far. He slipped behind the tower, a loading dock's rusted gate his way in, its lock brittle under a scavenged crowbar. The air inside stank of wax and wealth. A service, stairwell spiraling up, its concrete cold under his sneakers. Third floor, corner suite, Hayes's lawyer, a slick man named Warren Tate, kept his files there. Caleb crept, ears straining for guards, the photo and report heavy, his only anchors. A vent grate loomed, screws loose, just wide enough for his frame. He pried it open, dust choking him, and crawled, elbows scraping metal, heart pounding like a war drum. The office was dark, its carpet plush, a mahogany desk gleaming under moonlight through blinds. Caleb's flashlight danced, finding the safe, a black steel box, knee-high, tucked behind a bookshelf. No keypad, just a dial, old school, tricky. He'd watched lockpicking videos in detention, Dre's tips echoing, "Feel the click, don't. Force it." His hand steadied, sweat beading as he spun the dial, ears locked on faint ticks. Minutes bled, the building's hum a distant pulse, until a clunk sounded, the door swinging free. Caleb's breath hitched. Jackpot. Inside. Folders. Bulged, labeled with dates, names, counselors, judges, cops. Caleb flipped one open, eyes widening. Bank transfers to Voss, Klein, even Crane, millions funneled to redevelopment. Another had contracts, Beale Street's shops listed for demolition, black owners marked non-compliant. A ledger. Named every bribe, every lie. Hayes's signature scrawled like a king's. Caleb stuffed them in his hoodie, heart soaring. This wasn't just Sweet Rise's salvation. It was Memphis's. He snapped photos with a disposable camera, the flash sharp, and zipped the files tight, ready to run. He uploaded the photos to a blog from the office computer, anonymous, tagging every news outlet he knew. Hayes exposed. Beale fights. The post went live, comments spiking. "Is this real? Take him down." Caleb's chest swelled, hope blazing. Marla could be free by dawn, Hayes's empire crumbling under truth's weight. He pictured her smile, the bakeries. Awning bright again. The upload hit 10,000 views, then 50, trending global, reporters pinging sources. Caleb shut the computer, grabbing the files, his sneakers silent as he aimed for the vent. A floorboard creaked, not his, sharp in the quiet. Caleb froze, flashlight off, shadows shifting beyond the door. Boots thudded, voices low, a guard maybe. 2 radios crackling. His pulse spiked, the files heavy, the safe open behind him. He dove for the vent, knees scraping, but light flooded the room, a guard's shout splitting the air. "He's here!" Caleb crawled, metal biting his palms, the files slipping but held. The vent's grate loomed, Freedom inches away when a hand grabbed his ankle, yanking hard. He kicked, connecting with bone, the guard cursing, a new voice, not Klein, but Hayes's money all over it. Caleb burst through the grate, tumbling to the stairwell, files clutched tight. Alarms blared, red lights pulsing, boots pounding above. He sprinted, stairs blurring, the dock's gate ahead. Outside, humid air hit his face, but sirens wailed, cop cars screeching into the lot. Caleb darted across riverfront, heart screaming, the files his lifeline, Marla's freedom in his grip. He vanished into an alley, chest heaving, the blog's buzz echoing. Truth was out, unstoppable. Dawn broke, the city waking to chaos. Caleb, holed up in a condemned gym, watched his post explode. 500,000 views, news anchors citing leaked documents, protests sparking outside Hayes's tower. Marla's name trended, her arrest called a sham, Beale Street chanting her release. Caleb grinned, bruised but alive, the files spread on a crate, proof Hayes bribed half Memphis, judges, cops, inspectors. He texted a reporter from a new burner, sending photos, his hope a wildfire. Hayes's empire was cracking and Caleb had struck the blow. Then the hammer fell, swift and cruel. His burner buzzed, a news alert flashing. His blog post now twisted headlines screaming, "Teen forger caught in Hayes hoax." Caleb's stomach dropped, the screen showing his upload hacked, documents labeled fabricated, his photos called fakes. Hey, police chief, Hayes's pawn, stood at a podium, voice grim. Caleb Jackson's a fugitive, spreading lies to incite unrest. The camera cut to SWAT teams, rifles gleaming, storming Beale Street, orders clear. Bring him in, dead or alive. Caleb's blood chilled. A manhunt citywide, Hayes's final play. The gym's walls closed in, dust swirling, his triumph ashes. Hayes hadn't just countered. He'd rewritten the truth, painting Caleb a liar, a black criminal to be hunted. News anchors, bought or scared, parroted the lie, their words laced with dog whistles. Delinquent, threat. Caleb's hands shook, the files real but useless, Marla still caged, Beale Street under siege. He'd lit a spark, only for Hayes to douse it with gasoline. SWAT's boots would find him, Klein's grin waiting. The report, the photo, felt heavy. Not enough against a city-turned-enemy. A knock jolted him, soft but urgent. Dre at the door, face tense. Cops are close, man. Gotta move. Caleb nodded, stuffing the files, but Dre grabbed his arm. Voice low. Heard something at a diner. Hayes's firm funds a think tank, some racist crew pushing pure Memphis. Barista saw you on the news, hid your name. Caleb's eyes widened. A new piece. Hayes's money wasn't just bribes. It was ideology. A war on black lives. The gym's shadows deepened. SWAT sirens nearing. His fight bigger, deadlier than he'd dreamed. Comment number 1 if you're raging at Hayes's twisted lies, then hit like and subscribe to see Caleb claw back. Drop a 1 if you think truth can outrun a manhunt, or if you've ever seen justice framed as a crime. Will Caleb slip the city's net before SWAT's rifles find him? Caleb Jackson's heart slammed against his ribs, the condemned gym's stale air thick with dust as he crouched over the stolen files, their pages splayed like a map of Vernon Hayes's sins. Memphis hunted him, SWAT rifles primed. Hayes's hacked smear calling Caleb a forger, blaring on every newsstand, radio screen. The forged report, tucked in his hoodie, and the country club photo creased in his pocket, tied Hayes to Sweet Rise's eviction and Marla's jailing. But they were paper against a city's wrath. Marla's face, cuffed, her bakery dead, kept him moving, her voice a whisper. Fight, Caleb. He would, even if it killed him. The gym's cracked mirrors reflected his bruises, militia marks from the alley, but Dre's warning rang louder. SWAT was closing in. Hayes's think tank funding a racist purge of black Memphis. Caleb's burner. Phone, a lifeline from a Beale ally, buzzed with a text. Cafe on 3rd, safe, ask for Lena. He stuffed the files, zipping his hoodie, the weight of Hayes's ledger, bribes to judges, cops, counselors, heavy against his chest. Dre was gone, scouting exits, leaving Caleb to slip out alone, the city's pulse a siren's wail beyond the boarded windows. Third Street was a gamble, its dive bars and pawn shops crawling with eyes, but Lena's cafe was a faint hope. A neon sign flickering open through the dawn's haze. Caleb moved fast, cap low, dodging headlights, the files a ticking bomb. The cafe's door jingled, warm air hitting him, coffee, grease, a jukebox humming low. A barista, Lena, mid-20s, braids coiled tight, met his gaze, her nod subtle but sure. "Back booth," she whispered, sliding him a mug, her eyes flicking to the street. Caleb sank into the shadows, files hidden, pulse steadying. She knew him, hid him. Maybe he wasn't alone. Lena leaned close, wiping a counter no one watched. Voice barely audible. "Saw you on the news. Hayes' lies, his firm funds a think tank, some pure Memphis crap, all white supremacy dog whistles. I kept your name quiet." Caleb's breath caught, the puzzle locking. Hayes wasn't just stealing land. He was bankrolling hate, a war on black lives. He pulled the files, whispering back, "Got proof here, bribes, contracts, his whole game. Need to get it out." Lena's eyes widened, nodding. "I know people, stay low, I'll call 'em." Caleb sipped the coffee, bitter but grounding, and opened his burner, its signal weak but alive. The files named names, Voss, Klein, Crane, millions, funneled to crush Beale Street's black heart. He typed a post anonymous to a protest forum, attaching file scans. "Hayes buys Memphis. Free Marla, save Beale." His thumb hovered, then hit send, the post live, comments spiking. Anger, support, fire. He texted allies, Beale's shopkeepers, Marla's choir, urging a rally at Hayes' think tank, a brick fortress downtown. If he could pack the streets again, show the files, maybe Marla's cell would open. The forum exploded, thousands pledging to march, hashtags trending. "Free Marla, Hayes burns." Caleb's chest swelled, hope flickering, picturing Marla's bakery alive, her laugh back. Lena worked the counter, slipping him a burner charger, her glance steady. "You're stirring something big," she said low. Caleb nodded, the files his sword, the rally his shield. By noon the streets outside buzzed, protesters gathering, teens with signs, elders chanting, horns honking support. Caleb watched through the cafe's steamed glass, his post now viral, 50,000 shares, news vans circling. He'd lit. A spark again, brighter, fiercer. The march swelled, thousands clogging downtown, their voices shaking the think tank's walls, glass and steel, a monument to Hayes' hate. Caleb stayed hidden, burner buzzing with updates. "Crowd's massive. Cops backing off." He grinned, bruised lips stinging, the files safe, Marla's name a chant. Lena poured him another mug, her smile tight but warm. "They're shouting for you out there," she said, nodding to the chaos. Caleb's throat tightened. He was a fugitive, but Beale Street's pulse was his, beating loud, unstoppable. Then Lena's face changed, a flicker of something, guilt maybe, gone fast. Caleb's gut twisted, instinct screaming, but before he could move, the cafe's door burst open, boots stomping, black-clad figures flooding in, not cops but Hayes' goons, the same hooded thugs from the march, eyes wild with venom. Lena stepped back, hands raised, her voice shaky. "I'm sorry, Caleb," she whispered, eyes darting away. His heart sank, betrayed, her tip a trap, her call to Hayes' cash. The goons lunged, fists flying, a bat cracking his shoulder, pain exploding white-hot. Caleb fell, files slipping, the booth's vinyl slick with his blood. Slurs poured raw and vile, targeting his skin, his fight, his hope, each word a blade, Hayes' hate in every swing. The cafe's patrons screamed, fleeing, mugs shattering, but the goons didn't stop, their boots stomping his ribs, a knife glinting close. Caleb curled tight, shielding the files, Marla's face his anchor. The beating was public, phones flashing, a goon's camera streaming live, captions crawling, "Thug resists justice." Hayes' hack hadn't been enough. He wanted Caleb broken, televised, a black kid crushed for daring to rise. Blood pooled under Caleb's cheek, the world blurring. But he clung to the files, their edges cutting his palm. Lena stood frozen, tears streaking, her betrayal a wound deeper than the fists. The goons laughed, one planting a knife by Caleb's hand, its blade staged, another frame-up. Armed and dangerous, sirens wailed, cops storming in, Klein's Buzzcut leading, his grin of predators. "Got you now, Jackson," he snarled, cuffs snapping tight. The files yanked but not opened, tossed to a goon. Caleb's vision swam, Marla's voice faint. She'd see this, think him lost. They dragged him outside, the march's roar fading, protesters scattering under tear gas, signs trampled. The live stream spread, millions watching Caleb's bloodied. For face, Hayes' captions twisting him into a villain, a black threat to pure Memphis. Klein shoved him into a squad car, the door slamming, the files gone, his hope ash. Marla was still caged, Sweet Rise dead. And now Caleb faced life. Maybe worse, for a knife he'd never touched. His shoulder screamed, blood drying, but his eyes burned unbowed, the report still hidden, a spark uncrushed. A faint shout broke the squad car's hum, a protester, bold, live-streaming the goons' faces, their hoods down, tattoos clear, one. Dropping a Hayes business card. The clip hit the forum, comments raging. That's his crew. Caleb's no thug. But Caleb didn't see it, his head pressed against the car's glass. Klein's radio crackling orders. Book him for assault, resisting, whatever sticks. The protesters' stream was a lifeline, proof Hayes' men had struck. But Caleb was cuffed, hauled to a precinct, the city's jaws snapping shut. Marla's bakery flickered in his mind, its warm glow fading, but her grit held him. He wasn't done. The precinct loomed, its lights harsh, Klein's boots loud as they shoved. Caleb inside, his bruises throbbing, the knife frame up, a noose tightening. He'd rallied thousands, shaken Hayes' tower, but Lena's cash grab had flipped it, her guilt no comfort. The files were out there, maybe with goons, maybe evidence still, but Caleb's hands were empty, his fight caged again. He whispered, Marla's name, a vow to rise. The reports crinkle his last defiance, even as doors slammed, locking him in darkness. Caleb Jackson's blood crusted on his split lip, the Memphis precinct's holding cell a frigid cage, its graffiti-scratched walls closing in as he curled on a concrete bench, bruises pulsing from Hayes' goons' televised beating. The planted, knife, a cold lie, had landed him here facing life for assault, Vernon Hayes' racist smear, calling him a thug, blaring on every channel, drowning his truth. Marla languished in a cell miles away, framed for tax fraud. Her bakery, Sweet Rise, boarded up, her van ash. The forged report, miraculously still tucked in his hoodie's torn lining, tied Hayes to Beale Street's theft. But it felt like ash against the city's hate. Caleb's ribs ached, yet Marla's grit, her flour-dusted hands, her steady voice, kept his eyes sharp, searching for a crack in this tomb. The cell block roared, shouts bouncing off rusted bars, guards barking orders. Like dogs. Caleb's wrists bore cuff marks, Klein's grin haunting him, the cops' boots loud when they dragged him in. Hayes' empire, bribes, judges, militias, had crushed his march, hacked his leak, stolen Marla, but Caleb wasn't broken. The country club photo, creased in his sock, linked Hayes to Judge Voss, a spark uncrushed. He whispered Marla's name, a vow to fight, when a new prisoner shuffled in, a wiry man with sunken eyes muttering about Beale Street's fall. Caleb tensed, listening, his gut screaming. Nothing here was chance. The man, called Twitch by the guards, sat close, smelling of stale smoke, his gaze darting. "Heard you took on Hayes," he rasped, voice low, barely cutting the din. Caleb stayed silent, sizing him up, the report heavy, hidden. Twitch leaned closer, breath sour. "Got a cousin on Beale, saw that March fire, you ain't what they say." Caleb's pulse ticked up, wary but hooked. Twitch fumbled in his shoe, sliding a smuggled phone, its screen cracked but glowing. "Found this in the yard. Check it, quick." Caleb grabbed it, heart pounding. The cell's shadows thick as guards passed. He powered it on, signal faint, and opened a browser, fingers trembling. A forum post flared. Beale burns. A protester's livestream from the cafe attack, grainy, but damning. Goons' faces, hoods down, tattoos stark, one dropping a Hayes business card caught clear. Comments raged. That's his crew. Free Caleb. The clip had hit millions, front pages screaming setup, Marla's name tied to his, her arrest called a sham. Caleb's chest swelled, hope clawing through despair. This wasn't his leak, but it was truth. Proof Hayes's men had struck, not him. He could get it out, clear his name, free her. The phone's battery blinked red, guards' boots nearing. Caleb typed fast, emailing the clip to a reporter he'd texted post-heist, a woman who'd quoted his blog before Hayes's hack. Caleb, Jackson innocent. Hayes framed us, spread this. He hit send, the signal dying as a guard shadow loomed. Caleb slid the phone under the bench, kicking it to Twitch, who palmed it, eyes blank like he'd seen nothing. The guard, not Klein but just as cold, banged the bars, sneering, "Sleep tight, Jackson, you're done tomorrow." The slur in his tone wasn't veiled, his grin a blade, Hayes's reach choking the air. Morning broke, grey light seeping through bars, the cell block's clang waking Caleb's bruised body. He checked the report, still hidden, its forged signature his last card. Twitch was gone, swapped cells, the phone with him, but Caleb clung to hope. The clip was out, spreading. By lunch, whispers hit the chow hall, inmates muttering about Beale kid trending, news vans at the precinct. Caleb's heart raced, picturing Marla's cell door swinging, her bakery's awning bright. He'd lit a spark again from a cage, and Hayes's lies were cracking under it. The reporter moved fast, her story hitting noon broadcasts, the clip looping, goons, card, Hayes's name in bold. Protests flared, Beale Street packed, signs reading, "Justice for Caleb, Marla." Social media boiled, millions sharing, "Hammer free them" trending globally. Caleb heard it through a new inmate, a kid caught boosting cars, voice awed. "Man, you're famous. They're tearing Hayes apart." Caleb's lips twitched. Not a smile, but close, his bruises throbbing less. The knife charge felt flimsier, Marla's freedom closer. He'd done it, caged, beaten, but not buried. Then the cell block's TV flared, a news alert slicing his hope, like glass. Sweet Rise's red awning filled the screen, not standing but burning, flames swallowing its boarded windows, smoke black as death. A reporter's voice, grim. "Arson strikes Beale Street landmark, suspect Caleb Jackson linked." Caleb's knees buckled, inmates gasping, guards smirking. Arson? The bakery, Marla's soul, his home, was ash, and they pinned him, a caged kid miles away. The report cut to a confession, his voice doctored, words he'd never said. "I burned it to fight back." Caleb's vision blurred, rage and grief colliding, his fists slamming the bench, pain ignored. Hayes hadn't just struck. He'd torched Marla's legacy, her heart, framing Caleb to kill his spark. The clip's truth was drowned. Headlines. Flipping. "Beale burns now a curse, not a cry." Guards jeered, one spitting, "Your kind always burns shit." The slur raw, Hayes's hate in every word. Caleb's chest heaved, Marla's face flashing. Homeless now, caged, watching her dream die on TV. He'd cleared his name for a moment, only for Hayes to bury it in flames. The cell's cold sank deep, his bruises screaming, the report useless, against this lie. Hayes's empire wasn't cracking, it was crushing, burning what Caleb loved to break him. Marla's bakery, her warm counters, her jazz, gone forever, and he was chained, unable to save her. He sank to the floor, head in, hands sobs choking him, but his fingers grazed the photo, Voss's smirk a reminder. Hayes wasn't untouchable. Caleb's eyes burned, grief hardening to fury, the report's crinkle a vow to rise. A guard's voice broke his haze, low, not cruel, at the bars. "Jackson, you got ears?" It wasn't Klein, but a new face, older, graying, his badge reading, Porter. "Heard something. Hayes's think tank keeps a ledger, every bribe locked in their vault. Words they're spooked, moving it soon." Caleb's breath caught, pulse spiking, a new thread, echoing the rumor of Marla's crate. If he could reach it, expose it, Hayes's fire might choke on its own smoke. Porter walked off, no glance, like he'd said nothing, but Caleb clung to it, a lifeline in hell. The cell block quieted, night falling, inmates snoring. But Caleb sat, awake, the report and photo heavy, His mind locked on that ledger. Marla was homeless, caged, her fight fading, but Porter's hint was a spark. Hayes feared truth, feared Caleb. The clip had shaken him, forced this fire, this frame-up. Caleb's bruises throbbed, his lips stung, but he whispered the live stream's details, etching them deeper, a plan forming. One shot, one move to reach that vault, to free Marla, to burn Hayes's empire before it burned him. Caleb Jackson's breath rasped in the Memphis precinct's holding cell, the concrete biting his bruised back as he clutched the forged report, its worn edges a lifeline against the ashes of Marla's bakery, Sweet Rise, burned to nothing by Vernon Hayes's racist hand. The country club photo hidden in his sock tied Hayes to Judge Voss, but Porter's whispered hint, a ledger of every bribe locked in Hayes's think tank vault, ignited a desperate plan. Marla languished in a cell framed for fraud, her home gone, her spirit fading. Caleb's split lip stung, his ribs screamed from the goon's televised beating, but his eyes burned fierce. He'd escape, raid that vault, or die trying. The cell block hummed, guards' boots echoing, their slurs a constant jab, Hayes's hate in every word. Caleb's mind raced, mapping the precinct from nights dragged in, a loose vent near the laundry, a night shift guard who dozed. The live stream clip. His brief salvation had forced Hayes's arson, proof the developer feared truth. Caleb whispered Porter's words, etching the think tank's address. Main Street, steel and glass, a fortress of lies. He'd get there, expose Hayes on live air, free Marla, end this war. His fingers traced the report, a vow to rise. Opportunity. Struck at midnight, a power flicker plunging the cell block into shadow, alarm stuttering. Caleb moved, heart pounding, prying the vent's grate with a smuggled spoon, its metal bent from days of work. The duct was tight, dust choking him, but he crawled, elbows scraping, the report and photo tucked close. A guard's snore faded. Below, as he emerged in the laundry, steam cloaking him, a service door ajar. He slipped out, Memphis's humid night swallowing him, sirens distant but real. The precinct's lights blinked back on, shouts rising. His absence noticed, the hunt alive. Caleb ran, alleys his maze, the city's pulse a siren's wail. Main Street was 3 miles, the think tank a gleaming beast, its vault Hayes's heart. He ditched his hoodie, too torn, stealing a jacket from a dumpster, its stink masking his own. The report crinkled, the photo a weight, proof, but not enough without the ledger. Marla's face flashed, cuffed, homeless, her bakery ash. Hayes had burned her soul to break Caleb, betting he'd fold. He wouldn't. The streets blurred, his bruises fading against adrenaline, every step a defiance of Klein's cuffs, Voss's smirk. The think tank loomed, its glass facade reflecting moonlight. Security cameras glinting like eyes. Caleb circled, breath shallow, spotting a basement grate, rusted, loose. He pried it, metal groaning, and dropped inside, landing soft on concrete, the air cool with machine hum. Stairs spiraled up, offices dark, but the vault would be high, executive. Floor, Hayes's domain. He moved, sneakers silent, the report his anchor, the photo his blade. A guard's radio crackled somewhere, forcing him flat, pulse hammering until silence returned. He climbed, each step closer to truth. The top floor was sleek marble floors, art-screaming wealth, Hayes's kingdom built on Beale Street's bones. Caleb's flashlight danced, finding a locked door, archives etched in gold. The vault was inside, Porter's hint clear, a steel beast holding Hayes's bribes. Caleb picked the lock, a trick from Dre's cell block tales, his hands steady, despite the sweat stinging his eyes. The door clicked, revealing a chamber, the vault's squatting center, its keypad glowing red. He typed codes from stolen files, birth dates, anniversaries, Hayes's arrogance, until a beep sounded, the door swinging wide. Inside, the ledger lay, leather-bound, pages thick with sin, names, dates, millions to Voss, Klein, Crane, every counselor who'd smirked at Caleb's pleas. Contracts listed black homes, shops, churches, all flagged for clearance, Marla's bakery first. Caleb's chest tightened, rage swallowing fear. This was Hayes's soul, a blueprint to erase Black Memphis. He grabbed it, stuffing it in his jacket, and found a laptop, its screen live to a news feed. He hacked in, hands trembling, and set up a live stream. Erbil exposed, the Ledger's pages ready to burn Hayes's empire before the world. Caleb hit record, his bruised face filling the screen, voice raw but steady. I'm Caleb Jackson, and this is truth. Vernon Hayes bribed Memphis, judges, cops, counselors, to steal Beale Street, to burn Sweetrise, to cage my Aunt Marla. He held the ledger, flipping pages, names clear, Voss, Klein, dozens more. This is his plan to erase us, Black. Folks for condos, for hate. Marla's innocent, I'm innocent, look. The feed spiked, thousands watching, comments raging. Free them! Hayes is done! Caleb's hopes soared, Marla's cell door cracking in his mind. The stream hit. Millions, newsrooms pinging, protests flaring outside. Beale Street alive again, chanting Caleb's name. He read more, exposing Crane's cut, Klein's payoffs, the think tank's racist pure Memphis funds. The ledger was fire, Hayes's empire ash, Marla's freedom close. Caleb grinned, blood drying on his lip, picturing her bakery rebuilt. Her laugh back. He sent digital copies to reporters, bloggers, allies, his hands flying, the truth unstoppable. Memphis shook, sirens wailing below, but Caleb stood tall, the vault steel his stage, victory tasting real. Then the door exploded inward, Hayes himself storming in, his silver hair wild, a pistol gleaming in his fist, eyes blazing hate. Caleb froze, the ledger heavy, the stream still rolling. Hayes's voice was venom, each word a slur-soaked blade. You parasite, he spat, gun steady, ruining my city, my pure Memphis. The think tank's funds, his bribes, his militias, all laid bare as racist war, Caleb's skin his crime. Hayes stepped closer, pistol cocked, his grin a death knell. One call and you're a terrorist, bombs pinned on you, this city cheering your end. Caleb's heart slammed, the ledger slipping, the stream catching Hayes's rant, millions seeing his truth, his hate. Bombs. Fake like the knife, the fire, but lethal in Hayes's hands. Caleb backed up, vault wall cold, voice low. You're done, Hayes. They see you. The developer laughed, pistol shaking, his empire crumbling but his rage alive. You're nothing, he snarled, finger tightening, the stream spiking, comments screaming, he's got a gun. Caleb's eyes darted, no exit. The ledger his shield, Marla's face his strength. A noise cut through, sirens, boots, not Hayes's goons but feds, radios crackling outside. Caleb's copies had hit, newsrooms, FBI, viral truth-forcing hands. Hayes spun, gun wavering, his face pale as shouts neared. Caleb lunged, knocking the pistol, the ledger safe, the stream rolling. Agents stormed in, cuffs snapping on Hayes, his curses fading, but he slipped free in the chaos, vanishing through. A side door, a snake uncaught. Caleb sank, breathless, the ledger clutched, his stream ending with feds shouting, "Clear!" The think tank's lights blazed, agents swarming, the ledger taken as evidence. Caleb's name cleared in whispers. Outside, protests roared, Marla's release ordered, Beale Street alive with hope. Caleb's bruises throbbed, his lip bled. But he stood, the report and photo still his. Hayes's empire cracked, not crushed. He'd won for now, but Hayes's escape gnawed, those bombs, fake or real, a threat unburied. Marla was free, but Caleb's fight wasn't over, the city's, pulse's own beating fierce, unbowed. Caleb Jackson stood in the Memphis dawn, his bruised hands gripping a pair of scissors, their blades glinting as he prepared to cut the ribbon on Sweetrise's rebuilt storefront. Marla's bakery, reborn from ashes Vernon Hayes had set. Weeks ago, Caleb's livestream from the think tank vault had shattered Hayes's empire, exposing his ledger of bribes, millions to Judge Voss, Officer Klein, Councilwoman Crane, to steal Beale Street's black heart. Marla was free, her trumped up, fraud charges dropped, and Hayes's goons, those militia thugs with swastika tattoos, faced federal cuffs, their slurs silenced. The forged report and country club photo, once Caleb's only weapons, now sat framed in Marla's office, relics of a war won. Yet Caleb's pulse ticked uneasy. Hayes' escape a shadow uncaught. His final threat, fake bombs pinned on Caleb, still a ghost in the air. Beale Street pulsed, alive with jazz and laughter, the ribbon-cutting drawing hundreds. Shopkeepers, kids, elders who'd eaten Marla's biscuits for decades. Marla stood beside him, braids gleaming, her smile warm but weary, her hands flour-dusted from a pre-dawn. Batch. The new Sweet Rise shone, its red awning crisp, windows wide, counters gleaming under pendant lights, a community's heart rebuilt with donations sparked by Caleb's truth. Reporters milled, their cameras clicking, headlines hailing Caleb as Beale's champion, a 17-year-old who toppled a titan. He shifted, blazer pinching, the crowd's cheers heavy. Hero wasn't a word he trusted. Marla squeezed. His arm, voice low. "You did this, Caleb. Brought us back." Her eyes held pride, but also scars, her cell, her van's flames, her bakery's ash. Caleb nodded, throat tight, scissors cold in his grip. The ledger's pages had burned Hayes' lies, freeing her, saving Beale, but Hayes' last words, "You're nothing," rang, a venom that lingered. Klein was indicted. Voss retired in disgrace, Crane's campaign dead. Yet Caleb scanned the crowd, half expecting Hayes' silver hair, his pistol's glint. The developer was gone, a fugitive, but Caleb's gut screamed, men like that didn't vanish. The mayor, a new face untainted by Hayes' cash, stepped up, his speech short, praising Caleb's courage against corruption. The crowd roared, signs bobbing, Beale forever. Marla's home. Caleb forced a smile, scissors poised, the ribbon a red line between past and future. He'd fought from cells, alleys, courtrooms, each blow evictions, beatings, fires. Met with grit, Marla taught him. Her bakery's glow felt like victory, a black legacy standing tall against Hayes' racist war to cleanse Memphis. Yet his fingers twitched uneasy, the air too still like a storm held back. He cut the ribbon, the crowd erupting, jazz horns blaring, kids rushing for free pecan rolls. Marla tossed with a laugh. Caleb stepped back, letting her shine, her voice calling, "Come eat, y'all." Neighbors hugged him, a barber slapping his back, a girl in braids whispering, "You're my hero." Caleb ducked his head, heat rising, the scissors pocketed, their weight grounding him. The bakery's warmth wrapped him, cinnamon, coffee, home, but his eyes drifted, catching a flicker in the crowd, a man turning away. Too quick. Hayes. No, just nerves, he told himself, shaking it off. Inside, Marla. Pulled him to the office, a cramped room smelling of fresh paint, her old radio humming low. She handed him a lemonade, her gaze soft. "You're quiet, boy, what's eating you?" Caleb sipped, the tart sting sharp, his voice low. "Hayes got away, feels unfinished." Marla's lips tightened, nodding slow. "Men like him don't quit." "But you shook their world, Caleb. That's enough for today." He wanted to believe her, wanted the bakery's glow to erase the malicious boots, Klein's cuffs, Voss's smirk, but doubt gnawed, Hayes' shadow too long. She moved to a shelf, tugging a box, its lid taped tight. "Found this when they cleared the rubble," she said, voice odd, hesitant. "Was under the old floorboards where I hid recipes." Caleb frowned, setting the glass down, the crowd's chatter fading outside. She opened it, revealing a single page, yellowed, edges charred. A ledger sheet, not from Caleb's vault hall, but older, handwritten, names and numbers in tight script. Marla's hands shook, passing it to him, her eyes wide. "Read it, Caleb." Slow. His fingers grazed the paper, pulse spiking, the ink stark despite burns. Names leaped. Hayes, yes, but others, bigger. Senators, CEOs, a DC address circled, dates spanning years, not months. Payments dwarfed the think tank's bribes, tens of millions tagged National Renewal. A note scrawled, Phase 1. Memphis. Phase 2. Nationwide. Caleb's breath stopped, the room tilting. This wasn't Hayes' empire. He was a cog, a pawn for a cabal, a shadow elite bankrolling a war on black wealth coast to coast. His name sat at the bottom, in Red Caleb Jackson, Enemy 1. Marla's voice trembled, barely audible. "They're not done with you." Caleb's chest tightened, the page a blade. Its weight heavier than the ledger, the report all he'd fought. Hayes's rants, calling him a parasite, vowing bombs, weren't madness. They were orders, a glimpse of this machine. The bakeries. Glow dimmed, the crowd's cheers a faint hum. Memphis just a spark in a larger fire. He'd thought Hayes the king, but he was a knight, moving for faceless players who'd watched Caleb's fight, marked him, planned his end. He turned the page, a map sketched on back. DC streets, a building starred, a date weeks away. His mind raced, pieces locking. The think tanks, pure Memphis funds, Hayes's militias, the arsons, all tests for a national purge, black communities erased for profit, power, hate. Caleb's name as Enemy One wasn't pride. It was a death warrant. His livestream, their alarm, his truth, their threat. Marla grabbed his hand, voice fierce despite fear. "You don't have to go, Caleb. You've done enough." He met her eyes. Her scars his own, cells, flames, lies survived together. The bakery stood, Beale breathed because he'd fought. But this page flipped it, victory a mirage, Hayes's escape a signal, not defeat, but strategy. Caleb's jaw clenched, the report and photo useless now, relics against a giant. He could hide, rebuild here, let Marla's warmth be enough. Or he could hunt, chase that map, face the cabal, risk it all. His fingers tightened on the page, its char staining, his skin a choice burning clear. "I'm not done," he said, voice low, steady. Marla's gasp soft but proud. She nodded, tears brimming, knowing he'd choose the fight like she'd taught him. The bakery's jazz swelled outside, a kid's laugh cutting through, life he'd saved, life now at stake. Caleb folded the page, tucking it close, the map. His guide, DC, his battlefield. He hugged Marla, her warmth a shield, then stepped to the door, the crowd's glow fading. Memphis was home, but the war was bigger, and he'd meet it head-on. He slipped out, the city's dusk wrapping him, Beale Street's neon a beacon he'd carry. The page named him Enemy, but Caleb saw it clear. Enemy meant threat, meant power. Hayes was loose, a snake slithering to his masters, but Caleb was no prey. He'd exposed one empire, he'd burn another. His sneakers hit pavement, bruises fading, the map's star a pulse in his mind. Marla's bakery stood behind him, a victory, hard won, but ahead shadows waited and Caleb Jackson walked toward them, eyes wide open. Caleb Jackson's fight in Judge laughs at black teen in court. He's speechless when the boy flips the case around. Burns with truth. Courage can crack even the hardest walls. At 17, Caleb faced a racist system, crooked judges, brutal cops, a developer's empire, built to crush black lives like Marla's bakery sweet rise. Each blow, evictions, beatings, fires, tested him, but he rose, wielding proof to expose Vernon Hayes's lies. His story teaches us resilience isn't just surviving, it's striking back smarter, bolder when hope feels gone. Systemic racism, raw and relentless, didn't bow easily, yet Caleb's grit showed one voice can spark a movement, saving a community's heart. But the final twist, a cabal marking him Enemy One, reveals justice is no finish line. It's a relay demanding we pass the torch. Caleb's choice to hunt that shadow, leaving Marla's glow for DC's fight, reminds us, standing still lets evil regroup. We learn to question wins, to dig deeper, because power hides in plain sight, betting on our silence. Will you speak up where Caleb left off? Comment number 1 if you're ready to challenge injustice, then like, subscribe, share to keep this fire alive. Thank you for joining Caleb's stand. Here's to building a world where truth outruns hate. Stay fierce, stay fearless.